Our administration has obviously made it clear that that's not the stance and what we want from the volunteer spirit. You know that I feel the same way. That's a very few number. Man, the passion, energy from our fan base. Like, I've been in a lot of competitive arenas as a player and as a coach. There was nothing better that I've ever been in than what happened on Saturday night.
Just making sure that the little things are taken care of, like getting our cleats in the dirt and just playing.
What we have to do is make sure that we got our cleats in the ground before the ball is snapped. I think that's the key to the game, and make sure that
just get our cleats in the ground, execute calls, the urgency of communicating and getting lined up.
Yeah, you got to get your cleats in the ground and you got to go play.
Teammates, feel safe to win. Play for make breaks, one comes always score. If it hurts, you ain't the breaks, no get you double it up, put on more steam. Protect our kickers, our quarterback, our lead, our ball game. All obstacles, block, cut, sides, through the game, tap, this win it in. First year again, we're here for the first made. Carry everybody, keep it up 6 minutes.
The songs how like me, poets at an arcade, soaking moonlit falls, unbroken past this inundated orb that we call home, and it's night and I'm alone and I'm alive. Black and white headlights pierce patrols, blazing arrows, burning me to the marrow. But fire brings peace as well as it brings fear. You're the only thing I hear, and I want that. The songs how like me, poets at an arcade, soaking moonlit falls, unbroken past this inundated orb that we call home, and it's night and I'm alone and I'm alive. The dogs howl like me, poets at an arcade, soaking moonlit smashed and broken in the sea. When we wake up each cold morning and the birds sing their warning songs.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. It's the morning show. Got a fun show planned for you. The season is over. It's unfortunate. It's sad. We still got a bowl game to get ready for. We're going to be talking some recruiting, some transfer portal, all that fun stuff. But the season is over. You got to enjoy them, man. You got to enjoy them. You get 12 regular season games. They come and go, and they're gone. They're gone. So now we move into bowl season, the off season. Transfer portal is already picking up hot and heavy. Every time I sign on to Twitter and take a look, there's a new kid entering his name into the transfer portal. We're going to get Eric on here in just a second. I hope Gabe shows up for work. You know, Gabe was traveling. I've not talked to him. He's got the link. We'll see if he shows up to do a little work today. Let's run down the chat. Mike C is in the house talking about the polls, the AP polls. We're going to get into that a little bit later in the show. Brad is here. Brad's already done some homework. Brad sent me some homework, so I'll grade his homework coming up a little bit later in the show as well. Robert is here. What's up? Good morning, Robert. Danny's in the house. What's up, Danny? Ron the Don is here. Joey Carroll is in the house. Some of you guys were here just like 12 hours ago, but it's good to see you back in the chat. Bane Frame is in the house. Milton just needs to dial the arm back a few yards. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about Joe Milton as well. Robert is here. Chef Toy RD is in the house. Crystal Free is here. Says the absolute best way to start my birthday. Good morning, family. Well, happy birthday to you, Crystal. Thank you for spending it right here on the Talkin VAWLS Network. I got you a little present. I got you a present. I knew it was your birthday, Crystal. So here you go. Let me get the present. Where did it go? I left it laying around here somewhere. Here it is. Happy birthday, Crystal. Here's your present.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning, Cain. Have you ever been somebody's birthday present on a Monday morning before?
I was gonna say, hopefully Crystal can get more than just a little Locked On Talkin VAWLS. But hey, happy birthday and glad to be here.
John Hill's in the chat, and he says, smash that like button. And, I always give John a hard time and say we can't start the show until he drops a super chat. Well, last night I was streaming, playing a little NCAA football, talking, hanging out with the chat. Had a good night. I don't know how we did the show because John never showed up. And, I went upstairs to go to bed, pulled up a little VolQuest YouTube and was listening to your all show last night. And lo and behold, who kicked off your show with a super chat? I felt betrayed last night, John. I felt betrayed. It's okay. There's enough content to go around. Everybody can soak it in. Hey, look, I went upstairs and watched it too. You guys had a good show last night. But let's talk about this Vanderbilt game. It was a bounce back game. We talked all week after the loss to South Carolina. How would this team respond? They responded 56-0. What are your takeaways on Tennessee's win over Vanderbilt?
Yeah, that was the big one. It was the response, right? Tennessee was the better football team, of course. We know that. It's Tennessee, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's not the 85 Bears, but again, Vanderbilt won 2 straight, had some confidence, fighting for bowl eligibility. Tennessee embarrassed the week before. Tons of guys not playing in this football game, including Hendon Hooker. It kind of set up to be a little bit interesting, but as you and I spoke on Friday, I felt more confident in Tennessee as the week went on. I felt like this was going to be a double score game. I didn't think it was going to be 56-0. I didn't see this defense responding and pitching a shutout. Good for Tennessee. What way to respond? I think that they, silence any narrative out there that this team was divided, that this team didn't like one another, that this team quit. They got embarrassed and they got their tails whipped in South Carolina. And quite frankly, there's no excuse for that type of performance. And I get it. But as far as the internal stuff, that type of performance and bounce back on Saturday doesn't happen if the Kirk Herbstreits of the world, what they're saying is true about their fighting in the locker room, and they're not going to win against Vanderbilt straight up and stuff like that. So I was impressed with the way they responded. It wasn't perfect offensively, but again, it was good enough. D. Williams had a punt return. Again, complimentary football at its best in a monsoon. It was disgusting weather over there in Nashville.
Yeah, I played this clip on my video Sunday morning, and then I saw that you played it this morning on Locked On Vols. But I want to play it because Heupel, I love the fact that he doesn't sugarcoat. He comes out and gets straight to the point. It's like, you guys were talking, keep my name out your mouth is basically what he said. Let's hear the clip that he said after the game against Vanderbilt.
I know there's been a lot of talk outside of our program, just from different people about what the culture is inside of our locker room, man. And when I got here 2 years ago, nobody thought we'd win 10 by this point, but there were 30-plus kids that left this program. This group chose to stay, and they bought into me. They bought into our staff. They bought into the culture, the connection inside of our locker room, what we're going to build inside of our program, and they built it. And they only did that by working hard, competing together, and then competing for one another. And, we've been far from perfect, and that starts with me. But I'll tell you what, this group loves one another, and that's why, we've turned this program in the right direction, and the future is bright, and I'll go to battle with these guys any day, anywhere.
Austin, defensively.
Like I play the clip, and I got it pulled up on my phone, and it plays crystal clear. But is it all choppy on your end for StreamYard too? Is it a mess, or so you can't hear any?
I never know with StreamYard because like when I do some of my shows, like I'll play a clip and it will be short and choppy for me. But like once I get off, I'll be like, hey, did that come out clear for you guys? Like, yeah, it was perfect. So I thought it might have just been for me, but no, it was a little choppy there.
Yeah, but like it plays perfectly fine on YouTube. So like I'm
No.
sitting here and it's like I know what he's saying, but I can't hear anything. And I just sit here and then John's like awkward silence. Yeah, because I don't know the clip's over. I don't understand why it's such a disaster. But I love the clip from Josh Heupel again coming out point blank and saying, "Hey, you guys said this. It's not true." And we talk about a bounce back game, and I think that's why that's so important, right? Because if they came out and struggled against Vanderbilt or lost to Vanderbilt, everybody, that would be the narrative. Even with the bowl game coming around the corner, that would be the narrative. Is this, we sold the culture and the culture of the locker room is divided. That would be the storyline going into the offseason. And again, you got the bowl game, but it's kind of like last year. After the season, it's all we talked about was Purdue. The loss to Purdue is that's the last thing that was on your mind. That's why I think it was so important to bounce back against Vanderbilt the way they did.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. But again, even though if it was a 38-28 final score, you would take that and move on because of everything that was kind of leading into the game and all the players who were out and all that type of stuff. If it was 38-34, I mean, it wouldn't have been great, but a win's a win, right? You move on. 56-0. Again, I mean, it wasn't just, the offense goes out there and did what it did. And, Vanderbilt just kind of laid over. I mean, sure, Vanderbilt wasn't great or anything. And their game plan was absolutely horrendous. They switched to A.J. Swan, who could throw it down the field a little bit, but Mike Wright is their quarterback, and he's great at running the football, and they didn't run with Mike Wright. It was very confusing. But Tennessee's defense, the way it responded, I thought the defensive line played really well. Thought the secondary played well. I love me some Wesley Walker at safety. Man, he instinctive and sees play, goes and hits play. That's how you should play defense, right? Was he perfect? Absolutely not. Thought Jeremy Banks played really, really well in his return at linebacker, along with Aaron Beasley. So couldn't say enough good things about it. Again, Vanderbilt's not a great football team, but it was a team that was, playing some decent football at the time, and Tennessee just whooped up on them and won in shutout fashion. First shutout win in SEC play since 2003. That's kind of hard to believe. Again, that's not something that happens all the time, but still 2003 was a long time ago. So it was a good day for Tennessee.
John Hill for $20. He's making things right. This is, I feel like it's an official apology. John Hill for $20. That ain't cheap, John. That ain't cheap. I'm just aggravating you. You really don't have to put your offering in the offering plate every live stream, but we do appreciate it. So sorry, Boogie. Out shopping with the wife and the mall's Wi-Fi wouldn't let me log into Talkin VAWLS. Stupid redneck, white trash, Georgia fan Wi-Fi. Let's go Big Orange. Well, you're probably right. That's the only thing I know to blame is to blame Georgia fans. Brad with a $5 super chat says just a tip because Eric is on. But he doesn't say that you get it. That's the beautiful thing, Eric. See, they think they can allocate my super chats around here, and it's not happening. But thank you, Brad, for the tip. We appreciate that. You talk about Wesley Walker, and that's something looking ahead to next year, right? This defense. Oh, we got to be better. Got to have better players in the secondary. And they've got some good talent coming in this upcoming class, some really good freshman corners that I like a lot, but they're freshmen. They got to come along. And it's almost like we forgot about Wesley Walker. And I say it wrong every time. Turrentine, however you want to pronounce it, the kid from Ohio State. What does he develop? How does he develop? What does he look like next year? They've got some young talent in that secondary, but do they develop them? And it was good to see Wesley Walker out there making plays. Maybe he's an answer at safety going into next season.
Yeah, and, Wesley Walker's a guy that played 4 years at Georgia Tech, and I mean, he's played in a lot of football games, and he played a lot this year. He split time with Tamari McDonald. I mean, Tamari McDonald got the majority of the snaps, but it was probably at least a 70-30 split. So he saw action in every single game. He should have seen more action. He's a guy, in my opinion, that you got to kind of work to make sure that he doesn't enter the transfer portal as a grad transfer. I mean, I haven't heard anything. I'm just saying, like, hey, this guy came to Tennessee to play, didn't play as much as he wanted to play. Kind of what's his thought process going into this new era of the offseason. But he got in there, made the start at safety. I think it's obvious that he'd play one of the safety spots next year. Andre Turrentine is still really young. I think the spring will be really good for him to kind of see exactly where he is. But the fact that Turrentine didn't play any safety this year, they didn't play Wesley Walker at safety this year, Jordan Thomas at safety this year. I mean, they're just married to McCullough and Flowers, man. I mean, that's, Tim Banks just wants to play those two veteran safeties. And, Flowers is leaving the program. So, he went through senior day activities. The expectation is he's gone. So they're going to have to play at least one other safety, and we'll see if they make a move to play two new safeties. But Wesley Walker would be in my camp to play safety next year for Tennessee.
Don with a comment here. Don's all over the place. Sometimes I'm like, man, this guy's negative. Sometimes he's spot on. Sometimes he's optimistic. But that's the way it is around here, man. Just bring your opinion and we'll talk about it. This is something going around. If you don't have an elite level quarterback, you're going to lose. People are losing their minds over Joe Milton against Vanderbilt. And people want to talk about the weather and act like he is the perfect quarterback. And everybody knows I'm the biggest Joe Milton fan probably on the planet. Some people are talking about the weather. Other people are talking about how his accuracy issues are still horrible. I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Joe Milton didn't have the best day, but also didn't have the worst day. 11 of 21, 147 yards and a touchdown. I think we've seen him make progress, but I quoted you a million times. Half the time I didn't give you credit, but the whole 0-0 thing, right? How does Joe Milton look? Yep. What are your thoughts on Joe Milton against Vanderbilt and as the front runner going into next year?
Yeah, I mean, he was cool as a cucumber, right? I mean, he didn't back down for the moment, of course. This wasn't Alabama. This was Vanderbilt, but it was 0-0, 15 was on the clock, right? And he came in and he was A-okay. He is a fifth-year guy, fifth-year guy. I mean, he has started at Michigan. He has started at Tennessee. I mean, the stage is not too big for him. So from that regard, he was good. He connected on that first deep ball and it looked great. And so you thought like, oh, okay, well, I mean, Tennessee's going to be in for it again. And kind of doing the normal things on offense. And then he started, misfiring a little bit. One of his misfires, was just missed a squirrel in the end zone. The other one, Ramel Keaton drops down the sideline, but then he missed squirrel again. Then he missed Jalen Hyde down the sideline again. He missed a wide open Princeton fan over the middle of the field. It's like, man, come on. I don't think Tennessee helped him out a little bit in some of the play designs. Austin Price said this on the, I think our post-game mini pod. Like, he's really good throwing over the middle of the field, and they did not dial up much over the middle of the field. Walker Merrill's touchdown was a skinny post. Ramel Keaton's was a slant on fourth down. I mean, he thrives on stuff over the middle, and they didn't help him out much in that regard. So I'm not really sure. But the biggest thing there was it was an absolute monsoon. For those that were there, you know what I'm talking about. On TV, you could kind of see it. I mean, my feet were wet and I was in the press box. I mean, again, it was that type of sideways raining, right? He didn't turn the football over. He managed the football game and he got help from his run game. And so, he's got some work to do. He is not Hendon Hooker. He is not going to be as accurate as Hooker. But the things that he still has struggled with in the past that looked like, at least on Saturday, they hadn't gotten consistently better with the deep throws. So, we'll see, but he'll be the front runner. He knows the offense. He's an experienced guy. He still has all the tools. In my opinion, he will be the starting quarterback next year. And, Tennessee will be in a better position with a guy like him than starting a brand new guy or a true freshman in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. And I listened to your all's little post-game mini pod. I thought Austin was spot on. I feel like Joe is better when he can rip it, right? We all know he's got a cannon. Everybody knows he has a cannon. And the extension of the run game, right? The little hot passes to the outside. He's great because he gets the ball out there quick, allows them to get their block set up and go. And I agree with Austin, man. Across the middle, when he can rip it, when he can just let it loose, that's where he's the most efficient. It'll be interesting to see if this coaching staff makes some type of change, right? Good coaches adapt to their personnel. And I think this coaching staff has done that so far. Will they change the offense, move it around for Joe Milton, or do they continue to work on his touch on the deep ball? We shall see what happens. 224 people watching live. Thank you guys for joining us on this final edition of the Talkin VAWLS Monday morning show. It's been a lot of fun, man. I've enjoyed these Monday morning streams. You guys asked for it, so we decided to do it, and Eric jumped on here. It's been a lot of fun. Gabe's been on here every single Monday. Really enjoy it. Glad you guys talked me into it. As we get ready to wrap you up, Eric, looking back on this season, 10 wins, first 10-win regular season since 2003. Only 14 10-win regular seasons in the history of the program. Think about that. Only 14. They don't come around very often. So I tell people, been saying it, enjoy it, drink it in, forget that South Carolina game, and look at what this team did. How are you going to look back on 2022 and this football team, just as individuals, Hendon Hooker, Jalen Hyatt, some of those players? How will you look back on this team in this year?
Yeah, it was fun, man. I mean, it was a blast to be around, to cover these guys, to watch these guys play football. I mean, it was fun. It was exciting. I just go back and I mean, some of these like the offensive style with Jeremy Pruitt. And I'm not saying it's just completely opposite, right? I mean, if it was somewhere in the middle, I'd probably still be happy too. But it was just such a drag watching this team struggle to score 20 points a game and, just methodically move down the field and all that type of stuff. And then, with this offense, it's just so much fun to watch and to see the new wrinkles every single week. I mean, I'm just a football nerd, and so I love picking up on the different type of formations and what Tennessee does off motion on this series or whatnot. And it's fun. I think in that regard, Alex Golesh and Josh Heupel have been really, really good. Just seeing the individual improvements from Hendon Hooker to Jalen Hyatt to some of these guys on defense, the development, just seeing that, you know that this Tennessee football team, this program is headed in the right direction. But as far as this season, a little bit of surprise again. I didn't, not many people saw it being this good, and that's a credit to this staff, to this coaching staff. Hendon Hooker's a special football player. You'll remember him for a while. You'll remember this season from Jalen Hyatt. That's for sure. You'll remember the wins against Florida, the wins against Alabama. You'll remember going down to LSU and beating the crap out of the Tigers. Those are some of the memory. I'm going to remember going out to Pittsburgh, and you didn't really kind of know what type of football team you had at that point, but they found a way to win when, the offense wasn't great that day. Those are some of the moments that I'll take with me and remember. So this is a fun football team. Excited to see about the bowl game, but it's this new era of college football. Bowl games are always a little different now if you're not in the playoffs, but good memories about this football team. They should be really proud. And Josh Heupel is well ahead of schedule. Just pretty much like what he said in the postgame the other night.
You think they drop off a little next year? And I know that's a hard question. People asked me that last night. I'm like, I'm not answering that because so much is going to change between now and spring practice with the portal. But with what this roster has, what do you think? I'm expecting a little bit of a drop off. I just am with quarterback production, but we'll see, man. This coaching staff has done a good job through 2 seasons going into the portal, and I think the portal is going to be complete chaos this year. I think it's going to be the worst it's ever been. But what do you expect from this team next year? Then we'll get you out the door.
Well, that's a good question because what does this roster look like, and what does this staff look like? Will Alex Golesh still be here? Will he entertain head coaching offers? Will there be other moves around this coaching staff that's pretty much been intact since it's been here at Tennessee? What's the roster look like? We know Hendon Hooker won't be here. We expect, of course, Cedric Tillman to go to the NFL draft. What does Jalen Hyatt decide to do? Darnell Wright, what's he decide to do? What about some of these guys on the defensive side of the football? Jeremy Banks is expected to not be back on this football team. What about Byron Young, who didn't have the most consistent year he probably wanted to have? Again, what's this roster look like? But at the very least, Hendon Hooker is not going to be on this football team next year. Joe Milton will likely be your starting quarterback. You'll have Nico in here competing and all that type of stuff. So there's going to be a drop-off there no matter what. What's that look like? I mean, are we talking Tennessee's going to go 8-4 next year? Tennessee's going to go 9-3 next year? That would be kind of my expectation, not Tennessee's going 6-6 or 7-5. So yeah, just from that regard, I mean, I don't expect Tennessee to be the number 1 offense in the country. I don't expect Tennessee to have a Heisman Trophy candidate next year. So in those respects, yeah, I think Tennessee will take a step back a little bit, but hey, that's college football. That's nutrition, right? So the key is you don't want it to be a major step back. You just want it to be maybe a little tiny half step, and then you figure some things out, and then you push towards the end of the season. So we'll see. That's a tough question. You're right. But what's this roster and what's this staff look like in regards to the changes outside of just your quarterback? That's we're going to figure that out a lot over the month of December, and it's going to, as you mentioned, it's going to be wild here coming up with transfer portal season.
Yeah, I feel like the previous coaches in this program, it's kind of like that. They had, like, Butch Jones was close, man. Butch Jones was close so many times, but he never could get that consistency. It was so far up and then so far down. So I really truly believe Josh Heupel's the guy. 2 years in, I think he's going to get this program pulling in the right direction. I think we have, as a fan base, have to be patient. Don't panic if they go 8-4 next year. Let him get his guys. I think somebody in the chat said 2024 is our year. I could see that. You get Nico in, you get some of these defensive linemen that are coming in as freshmen next year. The sky's the limit. I think Josh Heupel's the guy. Cain, it's been a lot of fun, man. Like we've said before, this isn't the end. This isn't goodbye, Eric. I'll see you later. We'll continue to do some crossover stuff. Just may not look like this. It may not be a Monday morning stream. It may be a random Tuesday night. It may be a random Wednesday night. I'll keep jumping on Locked On Vols every now and then. We'll keep this thing going. Next year is going to be a lot of fun. We'll try to get back to some type of collaboration. But I appreciate you, man. I'm glad we owe it to the fans. The fans set this thing up. Now Kainer's a guy that I can text on a random Tuesday afternoon and say, hey, can you answer this? He'll answer questions. But also, Eric may just call me up while I'm at the gym and say, hey, man, I just want somebody to talk to about this Tennessee football team. And we owe that to you guys. It's been a blast, Cain. I appreciate you always jumping on and talking ball football.
Hey guys, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for everything, Boogie. This has been fun, and yeah, we'll have you back on Locked On Vols this week, and we'll figure out a schedule from here on out.
Sounds good, buddy. We'll catch up with you later.
See you, buddy.
All right, let's get the young gun on here. How do you always feel like, I can't follow Eric Cain? How am I going to follow Cain? Big shoes to fill, Gabe. You look like you're sleepy. I'm going to have to yell at you and make you bring some energy today, buddy.
You know what? I'm actually feeling all right. I mean, I did just wake up 25 minutes ago, but I'm feeling okay, actually. I woke up pretty awake for relatively, for driving 14 hours from Knoxville to Fort Worth yesterday. It was not very fun. It took us as long to get through Arkansas as it did Tennessee. And if you know that trip, you know that it should take you about 3 hours to get through Arkansas. It took us over 5 because of the traffic. So, I'd say for how yesterday went and how exhausted I was, I'm doing pretty good. So
the chat's good to see that you have a hat on this morning. You got your energy drink. It's full steam ahead. Hey, we were talking with Cain there about, who's going to be on this football team next year? And Jalen Hyatt, I think Jalen Hyatt's gone. I think he's off to the NFL. I think Darnell Wright's off to the NFL. What do you think about Jalen Hyatt?
I'm still torn because I think if there was a time to go to the NFL, it would be now. And for that reason, I think he will. And I'm not necessarily gonna, because having Jalen for another year would be awesome. I don't necessarily think we need him next year. Ramel Keaton is coming back. We're gonna have Squirrel with an extra year in the system. But like Jordan said there, I think Jalen Hyatt genuinely does want a championship as well. So that's why that's the reason I could see him coming back. Whatever his statistics may be next year, I could see him coming back for another year. So I'm still really torn. I think he very well could. I would say it's like 60-40 draft to staying right now. But, obviously kids can change their minds and they can go back and forth in these last, he hasn't said anything about it yet. After their last game, immediately going, I am going to be staying out of our bowl game because I'm going to the draft. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if he waits until after the bowl game to say, but I think people are very torn. But I see a little more people saying that he's going to go pro, and I completely understand why. I'm not sure yet. I really have no idea.
My difference, like if he wants a championship, I get it. I'm competitive. I want to win. I want to win. It doesn't matter if we could be flipping quarters. I want to beat you. I want to not just beat you. I want to dominate you and show you that I'm better than you. That's how competitive I am. But if it's me and my brother over here, Cedric Tillman, says he's going to come back and win a championship, and he goes down, and I don't know how much it impacts. I don't know how much it impacts his draft status this season, because it's already on tape what he can do. But at the same time, that could hurt your draft status. That could impact where you end up, how much money you make. And ultimately, that's the end game for these kids. And people can get mad. They can get upset. They can get mad about, NIL. But the bottom line is, if you were in their shoes, if you were in their situation, you would want the same thing. You would want to make as much money as you could possibly make with NIL.
Exactly.
You would want to make as much money as you could possibly make in the NFL. And people want to talk about, get your degree. You don't think once you sign that $1 million contract with the NFL, that degree is going to still be waiting for you. $1 million contracts don't sit around and wait for you in the NFL game. They disappear quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like I'm a 20-year-old kid, Jalen, I think is 20 or 21. I think he's 20. If I'm sitting here, but having the option out, like I just had a breakout season, I might win the Bolitnikoff this year. My draft stock has skyrocketed. And I know that he may not be like the perfect NFL wide receiver prospect just because of his size. I mean, you look at what Donovan Smith is doing right now in the NFL, not necessarily having a rookie of the year season, but really contributing. I think that I don't know if I was presented with that contract, if I was presented with the opportunity to go and to make that money and continue to give myself that opportunity, I might just have to take it, because there is no guarantee what the future holds. I mean, Cedric, again, like you said, Cedric is the perfect example of that. Had a breakout junior year, came back in his senior year and got hurt. And I don't necessarily think his draft stock, I think his draft stock might fall a little, but I mean, like you said, it's on tape what he can do. He'll be healthy for the combine, to be able to show what he can do athletically. But that could, there's always the possibility that you get hurt maybe a little worse and maybe it's a little bit more serious. So I'm so torn, but yeah, I mean, I could see him going either way and I would understand either way. It's not going to be one of those things that I'm like, dang you, why'd you leave us for the draft? I would completely understand if he left for the draft. And that's the thing, right? Is like when you're a fan of a team that has talent, you understand when they go to the draft. I don't think Alabama fans are getting upset that all these players are going into the draft a year early, because they know they got guys behind them. That's a new mindset we're going to have to adjust to as we get talent and saying, oh, well, this guy can't leave. We don't have anybody behind him. Well, we have Squirrel White. We have Ramel Keaton coming back. We have Jimmy Holiday and Jimmy Callaway behind him, ready to work and get some reps. New guys coming in. It's a new mindset we're going to have to adjust to. But I would understand either way. I know he's going to be the biggest one because I don't think there are really those question marks. I don't think there's a bigger question mark as far as the draft goes on the team. But we'll see. We'll see.
John brought up a good point. He said, I don't see Milton throwing the same to Hyatt next year as Hendon Hooker did. And that's true too. Like we saw a lot of Squirrel White against Vanderbilt. We saw a ton of Squirrel White, and that's kind of been Joe's go-to guy, right? They're both on the twos.
That's why he started yesterday.
Yeah. And it's
Saturday.
It's I think they have that chemistry. I think Squirrel White is Joe's kind of go-to guy. Here's a $10 super chat from Lonnie Allball Williams. Appreciate that, buddy. You can't convince me that our defense didn't lay down against South Carolina. Was seeing the stats against Vandy. We should have let Banks travel despite whatever rumors we have heard. I feel like we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's something we got to move on from at this point. I mean, it happened, but it was over a week ago. We're looking for, and I know as fans, we don't have to just keep our eyes forward all the time, but those are the sorts of things that we, as a fan base, as a Tennessee fan base specifically, can dwell on a little too much and just forget about every other good thing. And I actually saw a lot of people, kind of improve as the week went on. And just went, hey, you know what? It's fine. Look at where we are. Just kind of not really coping, but it's not coping when you weren't supposed to be here. It's getting perspective. And so, yeah, I mean, I understand it's speculated, but we're not going to have a for sure answer about that. So at this point, it's like all the speculation that's been speculated, that's all that can be speculated, and we're not going to get a for sure answer. So I mean, it's just a matter of opinion, and I mean, everybody has one, and I just don't think it's something. I don't think that it's something that is going to be super. It needs to be super relevant for too much longer. But I mean,
this is the key right here. John Watts has the key. Coaches have to hold standards, or they lose the locker room, and that's what Josh Heupel made an example out of Jeremy Banks, and he should have. And I've talked some about it. They've talked about it on VolQuest to death. Those guys, without going into detail, and Jeremy Banks, their words, didn't have a good week. He did a lot of things that he shouldn't have done that week. And the incident with Hendon Hooker was kind of the icing on the cake. That was strike three. He'd already had strike one on Monday, had strike two on Tuesday. By the time we got to the Hendon Hooker thing, that was strike three, and Josh Heupel had to make a statement. And if you sit back and you let guys get away with things for too long, then like he says there in the chat, that's when you lose the team. That's what happened with Butch Jones and Jalen Hurd. That locker room was a nightmare, absolute nightmare. For me to say that this Tennessee defense through the game, that they took their college football playoff hopes and flushed them down the toilet because Jeremy Banks didn't travel with the team, that's insanity to me. That's absolute insanity. I don't see it. And if you guys believe that, if you think it's true, I mean, that's fine. We can agree to disagree. Right. I just don't think that an entire football team shows up and says, you know what? Screw it. Jeremy Banks is way more important than going to the college football playoff. And on top of that, you have Aaron Beasley talking to the media saying, "Hey, we didn't go about things the right way. Yeah, we practiced well, but we thought we were going to walk in and roll through South Carolina, and we didn't have to show up to play, and we got punched in the mouth." That happens in sports. South Carolina got hot at the right time. Their offensive coordinator threw everything at the wall, and guess what? It all stuck. It all stuck, and Tennessee couldn't stop them.
Yeah, and I mean, my perspective is kind of just like Adam in the chat just said, like they're not going to overturn the score, no matter how good our argument is. Like whether we say that they threw the game or we didn't, whatever, it doesn't matter. What happened, and I'm okay to sit here, especially and that Vanderbilt game took the sting off. South Carolina beating Clemson took the sting off. If I'm honest. Because they got hot. Listen, okay, here's something I want to say. In the South Carolina game after this, I'm literally done talking about it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Moving forward, but Spencer Rattler, it wasn't just Tennessee's secondary laying down and there was some wide open throws. Spencer Rattler made some dart throws. He made some throws that I don't know if he showed his potential there. Like he was on the money all night. We were talking about, Spencer Rattler sucks, Spencer Rattler this and that. He killed that game. He didn't even have to have those guys wide open. He was hitting them so on the money. If you go back and watch the game, you will see that. Like I'm not saying that we couldn't have stopped him a couple times more, but dude, he was throwing dimes left and right. I'm just saying. So anyway, but I'm done. Again, it's another thing. Is like the South Carolina game is so divisive among our own fans. Why are we even talking about it anymore? Why can't we just say, yeah, it happened? Then now we've destroyed Vandy in their own stadium in the rain. We're moving forward. I
can't move forward. I can't let it go because I'm reading the chat, Gabe. I'm reading the chat saying that I'm the one that's crazy. How is that a BS excuse? Like, the funny thing is, and Lonnie, I love you guys. It's fine. We can agree to disagree. Lonnie made a comment, you can beat Alabama but lose to South Carolina. 100% you can. It's college football. Like somebody in the chat just said, South Carolina went and beat Clemson. Like, it happens. It happens all around the country. Look at the games that took place. LSU, look at them getting beat by a Texas A&M team that is an absolute train wreck. Like, if
Alabama also was one play away from losing to.
I mean, it happens. It happens. It's college football. Let's see. Donovan,
anyway.
this is how we can move forward. Donovan says Tennessee is not out of the college football playoff. Even Greg McElroy agrees. Let's talk about some rankings. The AP polls came out. Let me share it up because this I want to talk about and kind of get into a little bit. So the AP poll comes out, which the college football playoff comes out tomorrow. But the AP poll, Georgia number 1, Michigan, TCU, USC, Ohio State, Alabama, and Tennessee. Now let's talk about this Alabama Tennessee shenanigans. And what do you how do you see this? Because I can see it. I tried to defend it a little bit for Alabama last night just to try to make sense of the whole thing. Like, what are we gauging this on, right? Why are we ranking Alabama ahead of Tennessee? Are you looking at top 25 wins? And Brad, if I don't know if Brad's still in the chat, he sent me some information I'll switch over to here in just a second. But how do you validate Alabama being there? The only way you can validate it is by looking at their losses, right? They lost to Tennessee. They lost to LSU. Those are two teams. Where's LSU ranked after they lost? Do they stay in the top? Where are they?
They're 11. They're at 11.
Okay, so Alabama lost to number 11 and number 7. Tennessee, on the other hand, lost to number 1. It's like, okay, well, and then you got embarrassed by South Carolina. Yeah, let's go back and talk to South Carolina.
They should be ranked now, right? Like, South Carolina's ranked.
I think they're in the top. What are they, 21? 20. They're ranked 20 in the AP poll.
That's weird to me. That's weird to me, too.
But, my gosh, look what they've done. Look what they've done down the stretch.
No, I mean, that's weird that they're ranked that low. I figured they'd be top 15 after
they got
two top
4
10
losses?
teams. Yeah, I know, but I bet
Notre Dame's the only 4-loss team ranked ahead of them.
Wait, I mean, AP poll doesn't matter.
It doesn't, but it's a launching point.
That's how I validate it.
To get into this conversation.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's the thing is, like, the AP poll doesn't matter to me. If the college football playoff comes out, or poll comes out tomorrow night, and Alabama is ahead of Tennessee, then we have a problem. Because, see, the AP poll doesn't follow the college football playoffs, guidelines. And there are guys on there. I mean, you look down the voting sheet, you're like, what is wrong with these people? Like, what is going through their head? When Tennessee was ranked number 1 in the college football playoff poll, Mike Barandino at Notre Dame still had Tennessee ranked at like number 5 and behind Alabama. So that's, guys just don't know what they're doing. Okay, that vote for the AP poll, and it, not to say that most don't, because most do, but the AP poll just doesn't matter, especially at this point in the season. So I'm not upset at Tennessee being ranked a position behind Alabama in the AP because it doesn't matter. However, what I am worried about is that it's going to be mirrored by the college football playoff poll. In my opinion, Ohio State should be behind both Alabama and Tennessee, and then ahead of Penn State. People are saying Penn State should be ahead of Tennessee. No way in the world should they be ahead of Tennessee. But Ohio State should be behind Alabama and Tennessee. The idea was whoever loses that game is out, especially when you lose by 20 points at home to Michigan. You're out. You're gone. You have no discussion anymore. If the college football playoff criteria does matter to them, they will have Tennessee ahead of Alabama. And if we're following logic and Ohio State is behind Alabama and Tennessee will be at number 5. Like, that's the only thing possible. It either has to be Tennessee or Alabama. Because what you're telling me is that an Ohio State team that hasn't played anybody all year and lost, they had one like semi-good test against Penn State, won that game, and then lost their only real test to Michigan at home. You're telling me that team is going to sneak ahead of both Alabama and Tennessee? That you're telling Ohio State you can still sneak in. You can still sneak in. But why? How?
Let's look at this. This is college football. Brad sent me this on Twitter. Who Brad is clearly having a bad day reading the chat. Hang in there, buddy. Sorry to hear that. But he sent me this earlier. And this is rankings criteria. College football playoff selectors create top 25 rankings based on their evaluation of teams' performance on the field. The committee employs several metrics to select the best team. So here are the metrics. That's what Brad's got included here. Strength of schedule, head-to-head game results, results versus top 25 teams, results versus common opponents, and conference championships. Nowhere in there does it mention losses. It's all about wins, results versus top 25, blah, blah, blah. Strength of schedule. This is Tennessee versus Alabama. Who wins strength of schedule? Tennessee. Tennessee's at number 7. Alabama's at number 8. Keep in mind, these are two football teams that are 10-2, right? 10-2, same record. Head-to-head game results. Winner, Tennessee, 52-49. Smoke cigars, storm the field, threw the goalpost in the river. Absolutely amazing night on this channel. Results versus top 25 teams. So we're on number 3. We're on number 3 out of 5 of the criteria. Results versus top 25 teams. Tennessee 40, LSU 13. Tennessee 52, Alabama 49. Alabama's top 25 wins. Alabama 20, Texas 19. So they had one win over a top 25 opponent, and it was a 1-point game. So Tennessee, once again, wins number 3. 5 criteria given for the rankings. Tennessee's leading 3 out of 5 against Alabama. Results versus common opponents. Who's the winner? Tennessee. Common opponent, LSU. Tennessee wins 40-13. Alabama loses 32-31. Vanderbilt, who wins that one? Tennessee once again, 56-0. Alabama beat Vanderbilt 55-3. So I think that's some pretty interesting information. So when the college football playoffs rankings come out tomorrow, you think Tennessee's ahead of Alabama?
I think that,
not should they?
Somebody
think they will be.
Somebody says this every week, right? But if Tennessee is not ahead of Alabama, this committee has lost all credibility, all of it. They have lost all credibility if they rank Alabama above Tennessee, because they are directly contradicting their own criteria that they make the rankings on. For whatever reason they give, they'll spitball some stupid reason. I need, yes, they should be. I don't know if they will be. If I'm saying logically, yes, they will be. But this committee has shown that they don't always do things the way that they should. And so that's why I'm worried. And somebody says it every week when the college football playoff rankings come out. The committee's a failed experiment, blah, 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 blah. Well, this is their time to, like, especially later in the year, this is really their time to show that they actually have integrity in what they're doing. Because some Alabama fans might be mad that Tennessee jumps them because, like, they just lost to South Carolina, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Look at the criteria and tell me that Tennessee doesn't belong ahead of Alabama. So, and whether Ohio State falls behind Tennessee and Alabama, I really think they should, right? I mean, like, they should, because their strength of schedule is whack. And then they lost to their one big challenge, like by 20 at home. That's what
I can't get. I cannot wrap my head around. And we had this conversation the other night too. Ohio State, D. Carr was on the show for the postgame show. He messaged me out of the blue, kind of like you. He showed that initiative, and I was like, screw it. I'll let D. Carr on. He's got good mic, good setup, good sound. And we were having the conversation about Ohio State. Ohio State is a good football team. Like, don't get it twisted. You can't sit here and say they're just a terrible football team. They're good, but they don't get challenged. Like you just said, they play one tough game a year against Michigan, and they got embarrassed. So how do you, one loss. Tennessee's had 2 losses. They don't deserve to be in the college football playoff. If Tennessee played Ohio State tomorrow, it'd be a dang good football game. I think it'd be a fun one to watch. I think either team could win. How do you validate who should be ranked higher? That's where all you people out there that want to expand the college football playoff, I get it. I understand it. Then we would get these matchups and we would get to settle it on the field. On the flip side of that, this last couple of weeks of football has been a lot of fun. I've watched way more games that I normally wouldn't care about because it matters. It impacts Tennessee. Whereas if you expand it, I would just be like, okay, it doesn't matter. Just go beat Vanderbilt and nothing else matters. It's going to be fine. Tennessee will be in the playoff. Can they get things going back in the right direction? And you see a 56-0 blowout of Vanderbilt, then you're like, all right, this defense is back. This team's moving forward. The locker room's not divided. They answered a lot of questions in that Vanderbilt game. So going into a 12-team playoff, whatever you got, let's see what Tennessee does. But the topic, the discussion is Ohio State is a good football team, but they're only challenged one time a year. How do you validate ranking them so high? And you're not going to knock them off. You put them up there at the beginning of the season because everybody in the media loves Ohio State. They're not going to fall off. They're going to stay up there until they play Michigan. And then everybody else in the SEC has been through the gauntlet. They've been through murderer's row. Alabama 10-2, Tennessee 10-2, LSU, what are they, 9-3? They've been through the gauntlet. So, of course, they have losses. And then Ohio State just drops down to number 5, right on the outside of being in the playoff.
A couple people are saying that they think we wouldn't be rated above Alabama because of Joe Milton. Like,
that has
because
nothing
we lost
to do
it in
with
Hooker. That has nothing to do with it. We just beat Vanderbilt 56-0 with Joe Milton. So I mean Alabama and Tennessee both played 5-win teams on Saturday, and Alabama won by 2 or 3 scores, and Tennessee won 56-0. So I don't think that has anything to do with it. That shouldn't go into their consideration because that's not part of their criteria. Like, player personnel is not part of their criteria. It's performance and all, you saw it. But I don't know. I mean, I think if you put Tennessee and Ohio State on a field right now, I still think it'd be a really close game. I still think Tennessee could pull out that win because I truly do still believe that Tennessee's a better football team, even with Joe Milton. Because guess what? If you take 10 of those shots and you hit on 3 of them, that's 3 touchdowns. So that's 21 points. But I don't know. Like, I do kind of expect.
Let me cut you off for 2 seconds. Robert, listen to the words coming out of my mouth. Nobody is saying Vanderbilt's good. Nobody expected Vanderbilt. The question was, how does the team respond after being embarrassed? South Carolina wasn't any good. That's the whole thing. South Carolina sucked. Tennessee was favored by 3 touchdowns. That's why the Vanderbilt game was so important. Gosh, I feel like people coming at me in the comments just saying, why are you so excited about Vanderbilt? I'm excited about 10-2. That's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the way the team responded coming off of an embarrassment to South Carolina. Some of you guys want to put South Carolina in the rearview mirror, but some people can't accept. That's why we're excited about beating Vanderbilt 56-0. We could have been living the same sorrow of the loss to South Carolina.
Yep.
So let me put it on the record. I don't care if we were playing ETSU. The bottom line is this team responded They responded. It was 56-0. They were favored by 3 touchdowns the previous week and let South Carolina score 63 points. So, of course, I'm excited. Of course, I'm excited.
Yep.
Robert Tuck says he's not yelling at this, Robert.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make a point. Sorry, Gabe. I cut you off to yell at somebody. It happens
It's all
once
right.
every 3 weeks.
So, I mean, I don't expect. Of course, we're we're trying to search for crumbs, sniff for crumbs here. I don't expect Tennessee to get into the college football playoff. Okay, it's possible, but only if the committee does their job correctly. Ohio State. It was a comment you highlighted a minute ago. Tennessee dropped from 1 to 5 after their loss to Georgia. Ohio State was 2, and you're telling me after a 20-point loss at home, they're going to drop 3 spots to 5 because they're just that much better than Alabama and Tennessee? That's not that. I mean, even eye test wise, that doesn't add up. So if they're doing their job, they'll drop Ohio State to 7 above Penn State. Alabama at 6, Tennessee at 5. Then we can talk about playoff because TCU and USC play a conference championship game. And I'm a little, I hate to, I don't know. I'm a little iffy on knocking teams out of the playoff based on what happens in their conference championship. But if it means Tennessee is in, I don't care. I don't care because, I mean, TCU has just barely shown enough to stay up where they are, although they did put a beat down on Iowa State on Saturday. If they lose their Big 12 championship game, they should be out. USC's at 4, so if they lose, of course, they're out. So I don't expect Tennessee to be able to get in at this point, okay? But it's possible if the committee does their job because it's a bit of a weird year in college football. It really is. Normally, you wouldn't be able to have this conversation. If you lose to South Carolina the second to last week of the season, your playoff hopes are over. And they were and generally still are. But this has been such a weird season of college football where everybody's getting beat that the door could still open. If we had one extra week of football, I think Tennessee would be able to make it in. But we don't. We just have conference week, and unfortunately, only well, I suppose. But here's the thing: if Georgia loses, they're not falling out. They're staying in.
Let me hit a super chat real quick because
go ahead.
I let it sit there forever to transition, but we're having too much conversation about the college football playoff, so I don't want it to sit there forever. Mountain Doom for 10, thank you for super chat. Great season, balls. What bowl do you think we go to? Sugar Bowl versus Kansas State or Orange Bowl versus Clemson?
I'd rather play Clemson.
I would rather, yeah. If you're talking about where we
100%.
want, everybody wants Clemson in the Orange Bowl, and it's so frustrating. And you even just said it. You said it too just now. It's like, now with the college football playoff, bowl games don't matter anymore. And I'm sitting here like, dang it, man. 10-2 and an Orange Bowl against Clemson is a great season. And I understand why people say it, but at the same time, it's like, man, Orange Bowl versus Clemson, 10-2, shot to go win 11 games, go beat up on Clemson. I think that would be a fun matchup. Gosh,
I think that'd be great.
And so Elijah in the chat said, I would much rather go to the Orange Bowl than to go lay an egg in the college football playoff. I want to go to the college football playoff if I got a shot at that. But you bring up an interesting point with TCU and USC both playing conference championships. Where does Tennessee end up in the grand scheme of things? How broken is the system? Let's say TCU loses and USC loses. Not likely. Maybe one of them will slip up and lose. I don't see both of those guys losing. What if they slip up and lose and Alabama sneaks in this thing? What if that would be the most Tennessee thing to ever happen? You end the streak to Alabama, you beat them in Neyland Stadium, you celebrate, and then you don't get in the playoff and Alabama does. If Alabama sneaks their way into the playoff, watch out. They'll go win a national championship. You mark my words. If Alabama sneaks into the college football playoff, they will go win a national championship. You wait and see.
I mean, I don't know if there's much that, Tennessee fans alone can do, but it's not going to take a rocket scientist to look and see if Alabama sneaks in ahead of Tennessee to say, wait a second, this is because the committee is a heavily criticized thing from almost every type of journalist. I think even Joel Klatt is going to look at that and say, But wait a second. You said that head-to-head matchups matter. Why does Tennessee and Alabama with the same record, and Tennessee with the head-to-head and the win over the common opponent that Alabama lost to, why is Alabama ahead? And Joel Klatt will be the proponent of I think some pretty serious like outrage from people, because Tennessee fans are going to riot because it's blatant, right? It's like you don't even try to hide it. It's blatant and it's false. So, I mean, you say what if? I mean, we'll see if that happens. But I don't think it will, and it won't, and it shouldn't. We'll have our answers tomorrow night, because we're all saying like, what if? We'll have our answers tomorrow night when we see where the rankings are at, because it'll be pretty easy to say, okay, if this happens, this is what's going to happen. You can look at it and say, this is what should be the case. That hasn't exactly worked with this committee. You know, they haven't exactly done what should be the case. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, and I'm absolutely happy with a New Year's Six Bowl. I mean, if you told me we were going to make a New Year's Six Bowl at the beginning of the season, I'd be like, oh heck yeah. But since we're at the end of this season, and there's a chance, there's just a little chance that Tennessee.
What is there? There's a what?
There's a little chance.
How much of a chance?
Just a little. So
you're saying there's a chance?
I am.
I ruined my bit because I can't find the damn clip.
Are you still looking? You want me to wait?
I killed the bit. You're saying there's a chance. I killed the bit.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah. I've got too many clips, and I can't even get my punchline in there. I ruined everything.
But there's a chance, and so it's hard to focus on a bowl game, right? Because it's like, if there's a chance at all, we're going to be looking at the 2% chance we have of making the playoff, rather than whatever bowl game we're going to, because that'll all fall into place. So it's fun to speculate. I don't know. We genuinely, this isn't BVS speaking. We do need to prepare for Tennessee being behind potential Alabama or potentially Ohio State for no reason, just because that's the way this committee is sort of rolled. And Tennessee lost to South Carolina. They've dropped back. That's fair. They did. I thought we were going to fall back further. Honestly, I thought we were going to fall back further than 10, and I'm glad that we didn't. But we'll see what happens. If the College Football Playoff Committee follows their own criteria, Tennessee will be ahead of Alabama and Ohio State, and at number 5. I'm not necessarily saying that Tennessee, like the committee's been given no other choice because of the chaos that's been this season, right? Like, no, you wouldn't normally see a 10-2 team at number 5 knocking on the door if USC or TCU loses, but that's the way the cookies crumbled here in this football season. It's been absolute chaos. So we'll see, but we just have to wait till tomorrow.
And as we wrap up this stream here, we're going to wrap up in about an hour. You know, I asked this to Eric Cain, and it's like, how would you look back on this season? And it's so hard to look at, talk about, think about, because I really, truly believe 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we're going to look back and say this was a special year, but we're always going to say, but that South Carolina game. And I know people are sick of hearing it, but it's the reality. That's what we're going to look back on. But this has been a fun football team to watch. That's what Cainer said. You know, it's been fun. Like, talking to him off air, man, we're like, we are blessed to, you know, it's his full-time job. And I'm trying to make it my full-time job. Probably could make it my full-time job at this point. But gosh, we are so lucky that we get to come on here, hang out, talk Tennessee football, have these relationships, and watch them be good. You know, we've done some miserable streams on this channel. Georgia State, absolutely awful. We firing of coaches, coaching searches. There's been a lot of negativity that's had to be discussed and talked about. The South Carolina game was awful, but for the most part, man, this season has been a blast. It's been fun. Coming on here and talking about winning is way more fun than coming on and talk about losing. But when you look back on, how are you going to remember this season? What are you going to look back on? And I don't know, how do you see this season?
I'm going to see it as an awesome season. I mean, This season is in no way, shape, or form a disappointment to me. The South Carolina game was a disappointing game with a disappointing result, but this season overall has not been disappointing. I mean, we were looking at the beginning of the season going 8-4 would be an improvement. We'd like to get there. Maybe 9-3 is the ceiling. And we came out and we're going to finish the season 10-2 and definitely going to a New Year's Six Bowl. I don't think, I mean, literally I've never seen the last time Tennessee had a 10-win regular season. I was 1 year old. 1 year old. So it's good to be able to feel so terrible when you lose a game like that.
Yes.
Because that means you got upset. Guys, Tennessee is the team you rush the field for now. When was the last time that was? South Carolina rushed the field when they beat Tennessee. You know, when was the last time that was? It's been a long time. Tennessee is back, and that means that it's going to feel great until it hurts the most. Because when we drop one, if we drop one, that means that something big has happened and it's hurt your season. But that's a good problem to have when you're up at the top. It's like back in the day when the Florida game determined who was going to the SEC championship, right? You didn't have to go, oh no, that's it. We may never see this again. It was, well, that sucks, but till next year, we still got football to play. You know, that's what we're returning to. We don't need to necessarily go 12-0 every I mean, that'd be great. We don't need to go 12-0 for the next 10 years, right? But just being up here, being in the top 10 teams in the country, being in that conversation and hopefully staying there, as I really assume we will, that is far from a disappointment to me. Far from a disappointment. And again, second season? Are you kidding me? The second season of Josh Heupel's tenure, we're 10-2, and whether we drop an extra game next year, whether we go 8-4, 9-3, I don't really care because I know where this program is headed. It was hard to ever feel like we were really headed in a great direction under any of the last, is it 4 coaches? So it was hard to really, even under Butch, it was hard to feel that way sometimes. When we had one of the most talented rosters in America and went 9-3 in the regular season, you know? So I don't know. This season has not been a disappointment. It's been very fun. Like you said, even last year when we went 7-5, I said, you know, that wasn't a perfect season, but dang, this team is fun to watch. This team is fun. It is fun to watch this team play football. Jeremy Pruitt's teams here at Tennessee were the most miserable, freaking boring teams to watch because they lost a ton of games, obviously, but even the ones they won, it was like, oh my God. So the fact that this team was just enjoyable to watch is enough. But to then go and translate that into wins and go and getting 10 regular season wins, yes, it could have been 11, whatever. It happened. We move on. That's the way the world works, the way college football works. That is a excellent season to me. And I love this team. I love this coach. Josh Heupel has something that this administration and this staff is we got so lucky because not only are they just good at their job, but they're accepting the new college football landscape and they're getting a step ahead. Believe me, guys, the stuff Tennessee is doing with NIL, the stuff Tennessee is doing with the transfer portal, the stuff they're doing with the new college football world is going to matter in the next decade. It is going to pay dividends in the next decade because the more these old school college football programs, keep their foot in the mud, the more the more it's going to hurt them in the future. Because the college football landscape is changing, and this administration and the staff said, "Hey, you know what? We see it's changing. We're not going to fight it. We're going to do things correctly. We're gonna be the spearhead and do things correctly." So it's going to matter, and I'm very excited for this season has not been a disappointment. It's been awesome, and more than anything, I'm excited for the future. Whether we take a step back next year, I'm excited for the next 3. When could you say you were excited for the next multiple years of Tennessee football? It's been a long, long, long time, not since I was alive. Probably could anybody say that, but I am excited for the next multiple years of Tennessee football because that's how much I believe in the staff. So it's been a great season. I've enjoyed getting to do this with all of y'all and Boogie. It's just added a whole new level of it's just added a whole new dynamic to my fanhood of Tennessee football, and just being able to watch this team go out and do some things, watch frankly a legendary quarterback make his mark at Tennessee, and I'm excited. So the long-winded answer to a very basic question: no, the season was not a disappointment. It was a great season, and I'm very happy about it.
We are going to continue to cover this football program. Gabe and I are going to cover recruiting. We're going to do some, I always do the recruiting videos, right? And it's about one kid or another kid. And we'll try to, when we get like enough content together, try to do some live streams. I know all of you guys here for the morning show are subscribed. You probably got the notification bell rang. It's important to hit that notification bell because it will let you know. It'll notify your phone or whatever when we schedule a live stream. And that's what it's always going to be, kind of impromptu, out of nowhere. All right, we got enough information. Let's go live and talk about it. So make sure you guys are subscribed. This morning show has been fun, man. I'm going to miss it. Going to miss not doing the morning show anymore, but it's back to the usual. It's back to the usual. So more content, videos, live streams, all kinds of fun stuff. We appreciate you guys supporting us. Go check out the merch, bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. If you want to get in the NIL game like Gabe's talking about, they're changing the game. The link is in the description for that as well. They kick a little money our way. 90% of every dollar donated goes to the athletes. Thank you, guys. We're right around the corner from 19,000 subscribers. I set a goal to hit 20,000 by the end of December. When I set that goal, I said it was impossible, but I like to set goals that I can't reach. That way I keep grinding and striving to get there. Let's see if we can get there. Tell somebody about Talkin VAWLS. If you got buddies that are Tennessee fans, let them know about the channel, get them engaged, and it's a blast, man. I love it. Like I said, the fact that we get to come on here and do this, it's amazing. Like I'm very thankful, very appreciative to everything that you guys give me and my family, man. I say it, and I know some of you guys are probably like, he's an idiot. Why does he say stuff like that? You guys have truly changed my family's life. You have. Like that's 100% the truth. And I owe you. I'm thankful. I appreciate you guys. We're going to wrap this thing up. For Gabe, my name is Boogie Bentley. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. Go Big Orange.
That we call home, and it's night and I'm alone and I'm alive.